Police officers on a routine patrol cruised along the sleepy suburban road, their headlights cutting through the early evening mist. Suddenly, something unusual caught their eye: a discarded coffin lying conspicuously on the roadside. It wasn't every day you came across a coffin left out in the open. Curiosity and duty spurred them into action. They pulled over to investigate this bizarre find. The officers got out of their cruiser, their boots crunching on the gravel as they approached the coffin. They exchanged puzzled glances, trying to comprehend why a coffin would be abandoned like this. Suspecting it could be part of some ill-fated prank or something more sinister, they decided to take a closer look. The situation was odd enough to warrant further investigation. Facing the unexpected, they carefully pried open the lid of the coffin, their breaths held in suspense. To their astonishment, the interior wasn't what they'd anticipated. Instead of a body, the coffin was filled with packages, meticulously wrapped in plastic. The officers exchanged another set of perplexed glances, realizing this was no ordinary discovery. What could these packages possibly contain? As they stood there, the officers noticed a strange, slightly pungent odor emanating from the plastic-wrapped packages. The scent was faint, but unmistakably suspicious. It didn't take long for their training to kick in. This was potentially something illegal. The unusual smell hinted at substances they were all too familiar with from previous drug busts. Caution, combined with their growing suspicion, nudged them into action. Understanding the potential danger of the situation, they didn't hesitate to call for backup. The sergeant's voice crackled over the radio, acknowledging the urgent nature of their find. With the discovery of a coffin filled with suspicious packages, the stakes were high. The officers knew they couldn't proceed alone. They needed more hands and expertise to handle what they had stumbled upon. While waiting for additional support to arrive, the officers focused on securing the area. They cordoned off the immediate vicinity around the coffin, ensuring that any curious passers-by or potential threats were kept at bay. Standing guard, they kept a watchful eye on the surroundings, remaining vigilant. The quiet suburban street now felt charged with suspense as they awaited backup. Shortly after, the sound of approaching sirens filled the air as backup officers arrived on the scene. Joined by forensic experts, the team was now fully equipped to handle the peculiar discovery. The blur of flashing lights added a surreal touch to the evening scene. With more hands on deck, they prepared to delve deeper into the mystery of the coffin and its strange contents. The forensic team got to work, carefully inspecting the packages inside the coffin. Each package was meticulously unwrapped under the bright beam of portable lights. The experts were thorough, using various tools and techniques to search for clues. Every step of the process was conducted with precision, ensuring that no detail was overlooked. The air was thick with anticipation as they worked. Initial analysis of the packages confirmed what the officers had suspected. The coffin was filled with illegal contraband. The forensic experts identified substances consistent with narcotics, their faces set in grim determination. The discovery transformed the situation from a curious oddity to a full-blown criminal investigation. They now had concrete evidence pointing to illegal activities far beyond their initial encounter. With the confirmation of illegal contraband, the officers knew this case required a deeper investigation. The odd discovery of a discarded coffin had just uncovered the tip of a potentially vast smuggling operation. They began documenting everything meticulously, preparing to trace the origins of the smuggled goods and uncover the network behind it all. The aim was clear: dismantle the operation and bring those responsible to justice. As the investigation progressed, it became increasingly evident that the coffin was part of a larger smuggling operation. The officers analyzed the packaging, discovering markings and codes that hinted at an organized network. The scale of the operation started to unfold right before their eyes. They realized they were dealing with something far more significant than just a few packages of contraband. Further leads pointed towards a sophisticated criminal network using coffins as transport vessels. This method allowed them to move illegal goods under the guise of respectable funeral processions. By exploiting the solemnity of funerals, the criminals avoided drawing attention to their activities. The coffins effectively masked their smuggling efforts, making it challenging for law enforcement to detect their operation. Determined to bring the operation down, the officers turned their focus to gathering concrete evidence to identify those involved in the smuggling ring. They sifted through surveillance footage, analyzed intercepted communications, and interviewed informants. Each piece of evidence brought them closer to unmasking the players behind the network. The goal was to build a solid case that could withstand judicial scrutiny. Forensic experts played a crucial role, finding fingerprints and other telling clues on the packages. They meticulously cataloged every piece of evidence, seeking connections that could lead back to the key figures. The prints were run through databases, and other forensic techniques were employed to ensure no stone was left unturned. Each finding added a layer of support to their growing case. Through their detailed investigation, they managed to trace the origin of the suspicious coffin to a local funeral home. This was a significant breakthrough. With this new lead, the officers geared up to delve deeper into the connections between the funeral home and the wider smuggling network. Their next step was to confront the funeral home owner and verify their involvement, if any. Surprisingly, the funeral home owner was cooperative. Sensing the gravity of the situation, he willingly provided records and surveillance footage from the premises. The officers pored over these documents and videos, looking for inconsistencies or signs of illicit activities. The cooperation from the funeral home owner added a vital dimension to their inquiry, offering a clearer view of the hidden operations. The surveillance footage revealed suspicious late-night activity at the funeral home. Unmarked vans and unidentified individuals were frequently seen loading and unloading items after hours. These findings corroborated their theory of the funeral home being a front for the smuggling network. The officers knew they were onto something significant and had to act swiftly yet cautiously to catch the culprits. Among the faces caught on the funeral home's security cameras, one individual stood out. This person was seen frequently in the footage, always at odd hours and often involved in handling the packages. The officers zeroed in on this suspect, believing they played a key role in the smuggling operations. Identifying this individual brought them one step closer to unraveling the entire network. To gather more concrete evidence, the officers decided to place the suspect under surveillance. They discreetly followed the suspect's movements, documenting every meeting and interaction. This covert observation was crucial for understanding the extent of their involvement and identifying other members of the network. The officers balanced their strategy between maintaining a low profile and obtaining the necessary intelligence. During the surveillance, it was observed that the suspect frequently met with known criminals in the area. These meetings often occurred in secluded locations, adding to the suspicion. By monitoring these interactions closely, the officers gathered valuable information about the smuggling ring's operations and hierarchy. Each sighting and recorded conversation helped weave a clearer picture of the network's structure. With mounting evidence against the suspect, the officers decided it was time to ramp up their efforts. They planned a stakeout to keep the suspect under continuous watch and gather more information on their activities. This required coordination and the setting up of covert observation posts. The officers were ready to spend long hours watching, waiting for the suspect to make a move. During one of the late-night stakeouts, the suspect made an unexpected move. They left their usual hangouts and drove towards an industrial part of town. The officers followed discreetly, their curiosity piqued. The suspect eventually led them to a nondescript warehouse, hidden among other abandoned buildings. This new location seemed to be a significant piece of the puzzle they were assembling. Upon closer inspection, the officers noted that the warehouse wasn't as abandoned as it appeared. It had heavy security, with guards patrolling the perimeter and surveillance cameras strategically positioned. This was a clear indication that something illicit was going on inside. The officers knew they had stumbled upon a critical hub of the smuggling operation and needed to proceed with caution. Realizing the importance of the warehouse, the officers set up a surveillance team to monitor it around the clock. They installed hidden cameras and positioned themselves at vantage points to record every activity. This constant watch was crucial to gather evidence and understand the full scope of operations. The officers committed to long, tedious hours, knowing the payoff would be worth it. Days into the surveillance, the officers observed the suspect transporting large deliveries into the warehouse. The deliveries were handled with utmost care, hinting they contained valuable or sensitive items. These observations added weight to their suspicion of illegal activities. Documenting every delivery and interaction, the officers slowly pieced together a clearer picture of the warehouse's role in the smuggling ring. After gathering substantial evidence, the officers decided it was time to take action. They meticulously planned a raid on the warehouse, knowing it was crucial to catch the criminals red-handed. The timing had to be perfect to prevent the suspects from fleeing or destroying evidence. The team coordinated with various departments, ensuring all resources were in place for a successful operation. The officers obtained a search warrant, presenting their gathered evidence to a judge. With the legal formalities in place, they prepared a tactical unit for the raid. Each member of the team was briefed on their role, and contingency plans were made for any unforeseen circumstances. The team knew the risks involved, but was determined to put an end to the smuggling operation. To minimize the risk of alerting the suspects, the raid was scheduled for the dead of night. The team moved in under the cover of darkness, their approach methodical and silent. They breached the warehouse with precision, quickly securing the perimeter and neutralizing any guards. The element of surprise worked in their favor, catching everyone inside off guard and limiting the chance of resistance. As the team moved through the warehouse, they discovered numerous stacks of plastic-wrapped packages. The sheer volume of the packages was staggering, reinforcing the scale of the operation. The team meticulously documented everything, ensuring nothing was missed. Each package was carefully inspected and catalogued, laying the groundwork for the prosecution of those involved in the smuggling ring. Upon inspection, the packages were confirmed to contain illegal drugs and various contraband items. The discovery validated the officers' investigation, providing the hard evidence needed to dismantle the smuggling ring. With this breakthrough, the officers were ready to proceed with arrests and further interrogations, aiming to capture the ringleaders and put an end to the illicit activities once and for all. Several individuals inside the warehouse were immediately taken into custody. Officers moved swiftly and efficiently, ensuring no one escaped. The detainees were searched and handcuffed, then escorted out to waiting police vehicles. The officers, while relieved at the initial success, knew this was just the beginning. Each arrest represented a potential lead, a piece of the larger puzzle they aimed to solve. Interrogations of the detained individuals began promptly at the station. Each suspect was questioned about their role and connections within the smuggling operation. Bits of information started to emerge, leading the officers to more names and associations than they initially anticipated. Every new name opened a new line of inquiry, revealing the vast network involved in the criminal enterprise. Information gathered from the suspects revealed that the warehouse was just one node in a much larger criminal enterprise. This smuggling ring had connections and operations spanning multiple cities, utilizing an intricate network of drop points and couriers. The scale and sophistication of the operation were far more extensive than anticipated, pointing to the existence of powerful figures controlling the operation from the shadows. With the realization of the vastness of the criminal enterprise, the police shifted their focus to dismantling the entire smuggling network. They decided to take a systematic approach, starting with the lower-level operatives and working their way up to the key figures. The officers understood that this would be a lengthy and complex task, requiring patience, diligence, and coordinated efforts across multiple jurisdictions. As the investigation progressed, the officers compiled a list of key figures within the organization. This included financiers, organizers, and main distributors. Identifying these individuals was crucial, as they were the pillars keeping the smuggling operation intact. With each name added to the list, the officers got closer to the heart of the network, readying themselves for the challenging takedown ahead. The investigation team meticulously planned coordinated strikes on multiple locations simultaneously. This strategy aimed to prevent any chance of the suspects fleeing or hiding evidence. Each location identified was tied to significant parts of the smuggling operation. The team ensured every detail was accounted for, working tirelessly to synchronize their efforts and make sure each strike would be both precise and effective. On the day of action, simultaneous raids were carried out across several locations. Teams moved in with military precision, making arrests and securing evidence. The element of surprise was key, preventing communication between different operatives. The coordinated strikes resulted in the apprehension of numerous suspects, catching them in the middle of their illicit activities. The raids were a resounding success, capturing a significant part of the network. During the raids, significant quantities of contraband and illegal substances were seized. Each stash house uncovered during the operation held vast amounts of drugs, cash, and other illicit items. The seizure was a major victory, crippling the smuggling network's operations. The confiscated items were meticulously catalogued and transported to secure facilities, providing irrefutable evidence of the suspects' criminal activities. High-level leaders of the smuggling operation were arrested during the raids. These individuals had managed to stay in the shadows, orchestrating the network from behind the scenes. Their apprehension was a critical blow to the organization, cutting off its leadership and strategic planning. The high-profile arrests garnered significant attention, highlighting the success of the police operation and the downfall of the smuggling ring. In the aftermath of the raids, the forensic team continued to analyze the gathered evidence to strengthen the case. Each piece of evidence was scrutinized, ensuring no detail was overlooked. This thorough analysis aimed to build a robust case against the suspects, securing convictions and preventing any future resurgence of the smuggling operations. The team knew the stakes were high and worked diligently to ensure justice was served. Upon closer examination, the seized contraband showed links to international origins. Various identification markings and packaging methods suggested distribution from prominent overseas sources. This prompted the authorities to consider the international scope of the smuggling ring. With the added complexity of global involvement, they knew they would need to expand their efforts and resources to capture the entire network spanning across multiple countries. To track down the overseas suppliers, the authorities sought cooperation from international law enforcement agencies. Engaging Interpol and other global entities, they shared intelligence and requested assistance. This collaboration aimed to identify the key players and disrupt the international supply chain. Communication channels buzzed with activity as both sides coordinated efforts, pooling their expertise and resources to apprehend the elusive suppliers behind this extensive operation. Authorities focused on understanding the intricate smuggling routes used by the operation. By analyzing shipping records, travel logs, and intercepted communications, they began painting a detailed picture of the pathways. These routes spanned continents, involving multiple transfer points to evade detection. The extensive planning behind these routes demonstrated the sophistication of the network, prompting a deeper dive into each leg of the journey to dismantle the entire smuggling chain. Forensic experts provided critical evidence linking the suspects directly to the contraband. Fingerprints, DNA samples, and trace materials gathered from the seized items were meticulously analyzed. Each piece of evidence tied individuals to specific roles within the operation. The forensic team's expertise was invaluable, turning abstract clues into concrete connections. Their findings fortified the investigation, offering undeniable proof of the suspect's involvement in the illegal activities. A detailed forensic report was prepared for the prosecution. This report contained thorough analyses charting the connections between the suspects and the contraband. It included photographic evidence, laboratory results, and expert testimonials. This comprehensive document was essential for building an airtight case in court. The prosecution reviewed the report meticulously, ensuring every detail was accurate and substantiated, anticipating the defense's likely attempts to dispute the forensic findings. Prosecutors assembled a robust case based on the collected evidence. They meticulously organized their arguments, aligning them with the forensic findings and testimonies. Each element of the case was designed to paint a clear, compelling narrative of the smuggling operation. The team worked tirelessly, refining their presentations to anticipate counterarguments. They knew the quality of their preparation directly impacted the case's outcome, aiming for convictions that would hold up against rigorous scrutiny. The main suspects were formally charged with multiple offenses related to smuggling. These charges included trafficking contraband, illegal importation, and organized crime activities. Facing a slew of serious allegations, the accused individuals realized the gravity of their situation. With the weight of the evidence against them, the court proceedings promised to be intense. The legal teams geared up for a challenging battle, each side preparing their strategies for the trial. Court proceedings commenced with police officers providing crucial testimony. They recounted the investigation's details, from the initial discovery to the coordinated raids. Their first-hand accounts added credibility to the prosecution's narrative. The defense lawyers listened intently, noting potential points for cross-examination. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation as evidence was presented, witnesses were called, and the legal strategies of both sides unfolded. The stage was set for a high-stakes legal battle. Forensic experts took the stand, elaborating on the methods used to analyze the evidence. They described the processes of DNA extraction, fingerprint analysis, and material matching. Their technical expertise provided a deeper understanding of how the suspects were linked to the contraband. The courtroom listened with rapt attention as each expert explained their findings, reinforcing the prosecution's case with scientific precision. Their testimonies were pivotal in translating complex data into comprehensible proof. The prosecution presented a compelling case against the defendants, meticulously piecing together the investigation's highlights. They showcased the evidence, testimonies, and forensic findings, weaving a coherent and convincing narrative. The sequence of events clearly depicted the suspects' roles within the smuggling operation. As the prosecution rested its case, the defense prepared for their rebuttal, knowing they faced a formidable challenge dismantling the prosecution's meticulous presentation. The courtroom awaited the next phase in the trial. The defense team launched an aggressive attack on the forensic evidence presented. They questioned the methods used to collect and analyze the samples, suggesting potential contamination or mishandling. Defense experts testified about alternative interpretations of the scientific data. Their goal was to sow doubt in the jurors' minds about the reliability of the forensic evidence. It was a strategy aimed at weakening the prosecution's strong case and creating reasonable doubt. In response, the prosecutors countered with their rock-solid forensic findings. They called back their forensic experts to address the defense's concerns, providing clarity and reinforcing the integrity of their methods. Detailed explanations and demonstrations were given to show the rigorous processes followed. The prosecution emphasized the consistency and precision of their evidence, aiming to restore the jury's confidence. The back-and-forth battle highlighted the critical role of forensic science in the case. The trial garnered significant public interest due to its unusual circumstances. Local news outlets and national media covered the proceedings extensively, drawing attention to the high-profile case. Spectators crowded the courtroom, eager to witness the unfolding drama. The community buzzed with discussions about the case's developments. The peculiar nature of a discarded coffin used for smuggling made it a captivating story, keeping people's attention glued to every twist and turn. Media coverage highlighted the police work and forensic analysis involved in the case. Reporters praised the dedication and skill of the law enforcement officers who unraveled the complex smuggling network. Stories focused on the painstaking efforts to collect and preserve evidence, as well as the expertise of the forensic team. The public's respect for the police and forensic analysts grew, recognizing their critical roles in ensuring justice. The coverage reinforced the importance of their work. Community members expressed immense relief as the smuggling network came undone. Public meetings, social media forums, and local news highlighted the collective sigh of relief. Parents felt safer, shop owners saw fewer disruptions, and local organizations praised the authorities. The successful operation fostered a renewed sense of security and trust in law enforcement. The community united in gratitude, knowing a dangerous criminal network had been effectively dismantled, making their town a safer place. During the trial, the suspect's previous criminal history was brought to light. Prosecutors revealed past offenses related to smuggling, fraud, and other illegal activities. The defendants had long records, painting a picture of habitual criminal behavior. This history further implicated them in the current charges, demonstrating a pattern of illicit conduct. The jury took note of these revelations, seeing them as further evidence of the defendants' involvement in the extensive smuggling operation. Witnesses took the stand, corroborating the involvement of the suspects in the smuggling operation. Former associates, reluctant but compelled, recounted interactions and transactions that directly implicated the accused. They shared details about meetings, money exchanges, and logistical arrangements. These testimonies added weight to the prosecution's case, as witnesses risked their safety to tell the truth. The courtroom listened intently, recognizing the bravery of these individuals and the importance of their statements. With the overwhelming evidence presented, the jury began its deliberations. They reviewed the testimonies, forensic findings, and the chronological presentation of the case. Discussions were thorough, as they weighed each piece of evidence carefully. The jurors knew their decision carried significant consequences. They approached their task with seriousness, understanding the importance of delivering a just verdict. The evidence was compelling, and their deliberations aimed to ensure each detail was considered appropriately. Verdicts were finally reached, and the defendants were found guilty on all counts. The courtroom's atmosphere was thick with anticipation as the verdicts were read. The community awaited the final pronouncement, and a collective sense of relief washed over them as justice prevailed. The guilty verdicts affirmed the meticulous work of the prosecution, police, and forensic experts. The trial concluded with the promise of consequences for those who participated in the elaborate smuggling scheme. Inside the discarded coffin, police discovered a trove of evidence, suggesting its use in a failed attempt to transport illegal drugs or contraband. Packages of illicit substances, concealed compartments, and tampering marks indicated a sophisticated smuggling method. This discovery was a key piece of the puzzle, contributing to the case's resolution. The eerie image of a coffin used for such purposes captured public imagination, highlighting the lengths criminal networks would go to evade law enforcement. The courtroom fell silent as the judge handed down lengthy prison terms to the main perpetrators. Each criminal received a sentence that matched the severity of their crimes, reflecting the serious impact of their actions on the community. Families of the victims watched with a mix of relief and satisfaction, knowing that justice had been served. The sentences sent a clear message: such crimes would not be tolerated and would be met with severe consequences. After the sentencing, the police gathered to reflect on the successful operation. Officers exchanged proud smiles and pats on the back, each recognizing the important role they played. From undercover agents to desk clerks, everyone contributed to cracking the case. The camaraderie was palpable, as stories of late nights, meticulous investigations, and breakthroughs were retold. They knew that without teamwork and mutual support, the operation couldn't have been this successful. Community leaders stepped forward to commend the police for their diligence and tireless efforts. At a town hall meeting, speeches were made praising law enforcement for their unwavering commitment to keeping the community safe. Local officials presented certificates of appreciation, applauding the bravery and hard work of every officer involved. The genuine gratitude from the community leaders inspired the police force, reinforcing their dedication to protecting those they served. This case set a new precedent for handling similar smuggling attempts. Legal experts discussed the innovative techniques used by law enforcement, emphasizing how this could shape future cases. The detailed forensic work, along with the cooperative efforts among various agencies, created a blueprint for addressing complex criminal networks. Other jurisdictions began studying the case, hoping to apply these effective methods to their own challenges. This milestone marked a significant step forward in fighting organized crime. Acknowledgement also went to the forensic teams whose meticulous work was crucial in solving the case. Experts in various fields, from DNA analysis to digital forensics, were recognized for their precision and dedication. They presented exhibits and explained their findings in court, leaving no doubt about the perpetrator's guilt. Their behind-the-scenes efforts were instrumental, and the recognition boosted their morale, highlighting the importance of their contributions in the justice system. The police vowed to remain vigilant against innovative smuggling techniques. They understood that crime constantly evolves, requiring them to stay ahead of the curve. Departments initiated new training programs, focusing on the latest trends in smuggling and other criminal activities. Officers discussed strategies and shared experiences to better prepare for future challenges. They remained committed to safeguarding their community, ready to tackle any new methods criminals might employ. The story of the discarded coffin became a cautionary tale for would-be criminals. News outlets and social media highlighted the case, stressing the eventual downfall of those involved. The message was clear. No matter how clever the scheme, law enforcement's diligence and expertise would prevail. Criminals contemplating similar acts were deterred by the severe sentences and the comprehensive police work. The case served as a stark reminder of the consequences awaiting those who broke the law. Officers who played key roles in the operation received commendations for their outstanding work. At a formal ceremony, medals and certificates were awarded, recognizing the bravery and excellence displayed throughout the investigation. Family members proudly watched as their loved ones were honored for their dedication to justice. The event celebrated not only individual achievements, but also the collective effort of the entire police force, reinforcing the value of teamwork and perseverance. With the smuggling network dismantled, the community felt considerably safer. Residents expressed their gratitude at public events and through local media. Neighborhood watch groups saw increased participation, buoyed by renewed trust in law enforcement. Parents felt more secure letting their children play outside, and business owners operated with peace of mind. The visible efforts of the police provided a sense of security, fostering a stronger bond between the community and law enforcement. The story concluded with a strong sense of justice being served. The police's dedication and tireless efforts were celebrated as they continued their mission to protect and serve their community. The case became a lasting testament to their commitment, inspiring future generations of law enforcement. The successful resolution reinvigorated their resolve to fight crime, knowing they had made a significant impact. In the end, the community stood united, grateful for the unwavering protection provided by their police force. Do you like this touching and surprising story? If so, we invite you to leave us a comment expressing your opinion. If you want to continue enjoying inspiring stories like this one, subscribe to our channel or check out the other videos shown at the bottom of the screen. Thank you for your cooperation.